The biggest lie denial tells us is that we're the only ones being affected by our secrets. We think we're getting away with it. But the truth is, the people who love us most, our spouses, our kids, they usually know something is wrong long before we admit it.
Exactly. They see the distance. They feel the wall we've built to protect ourselves. And that's the tragedy of Ephesians 4. When we put on that mask of falsehood, we aren't just hiding. We're actually amputating ourselves from the people we need most. We're so afraid of being rejected if they saw the real us that we end up losing the relationship anyway because of the isolation.
And if you are listening to this right now, maybe you're sitting in your car in the driveway, just staring at the front door, actively delaying going inside.
Right, just dreading that moment you have to turn the knob.
Yeah. Or maybe it's 3 a.m, the whole house is completely asleep, and you are lying awake in your living room.
Staring at the ceiling.
Exactly. Staring at the ceiling. You might be sitting in the very loneliness we're talking about right now. You know that exact feeling of the wall.
Oh, intimately.
You built it yourself. Brick by agonizing brick, entirely convinced it would keep you safe from judgment, from the consequences, from basically losing everything.
But the reality is, sitting there right now, the reality is that the wall just feels incredibly cold.
It really does. And our mission in this conversation, sitting here together at the Crosstalk Cafe, is to really figure out the actual, tangible cost of living a double life.
Yeah, we want to strip away the false comfort of the secret. We need to look honestly at what denial is actually doing to our families, our mental health, and our spiritual reality.
So the word cost, I feel like that is the pivotal concept here.
Absolutely, because denial, it operates like this incredibly convincing yet entirely fraudulent salesman.
Oh, that's a good way to put it, a fraudulent salesman.
Right. It pitches this illusion of the contained secret. The narrative it sells you is just highly intoxicating. It whispers in your ear, look around. You are managing this perfectly.
Nobody knows what you're going through.
Exactly. You go to work, you hit your targets, you smile at the neighbors, you mow the lawn on Saturdays, you cook dinner for the family. You are entirely getting away with it.
Yeah, it relies on your ability to point to, external functionality as proof of internal stability.
Right. But when we look at the psychological reality of what's happening to a person doing that, we see that the internal state is just severe biological and emotional taxation.
Total exhaustion.
Completely. Psychologists actually measure this thing called the cognitive load of maintaining a secret.
The cognitive load.
Yeah. When you are hiding a massive part of your life, your brain is forced to allocate a tremendous amount of physical energy. Literally burning glucose in your prefrontal cortex to constantly suppress the truth.
Wow. Let's ground that in a daily reality for a second, because cognitive load, it sounds a bit clinical.
Sure.
But the actual experience of it is pure exhaustion. Picture sitting at the family dinner table. It's Tuesday night. You're having meatloaf.
Right. Just a normal Tuesday.
Yeah. The plates are clinking. The kids are arguing about whose turn it is to walk the dog.
Yeah.
Your spouse is asking you some totally mundane question about the electric bill.
And physically, your body is in the chair. You're holding a fork.
Right. But mentally, you are running a high-stakes background scan. Your brain is panicked, just calculating whether you cleared your browser history.
Or wondering if that text message notification that just went off on the kitchen counter was the wrong person.
Exactly. You're trying to remember what excuse you gave your spouse for being late on Thursday, so your story lines up with what you're saying today.
It's exhausting just talking about it.
It really is. You are nodding and smiling, saying, pass the potatoes. But your eyes are entirely vacant.
You're not really there.
Not at all. It's a completely mundane setting, but internally, your cortisol levels are mimicking a prey animal trying to survive. You've basically become a ghost in your own home.
That is so true. And, the haunting part of that dynamic is that the human beings sitting around that table with you, they are incredibly intuitive barometers for ghosts.
Oh, absolutely. They can feel it.
They really can. We often operate under this delusion that if the hard facts don't leak, then the secret is completely secure. We tell ourselves, well, my spouse didn't find the receipt.
They didn't see the text.
Right. I haven't been caught in the act. We mistake a lack of evidence for a lack of awareness.
Wow. That's a profound distinction.
But secrets always leak. Yeah. And the primary way they leak is through the palpable absence of your presence.
The people around you, they do not need a dossier of your hidden life to feel the massive echoing canyon it creates right there in the living room.
Exactly. Your spouse feels the shift in the atmospheric pressure the second you walk through the door.
They feel that hyper-defensive posture you take when they ask a totally simple question like, hey, how was your afternoon?
Yes, the defensiveness is such a giveaway.
I want to examine that defensive posture specifically, actually,
Eh.
because we treat denial as this form of armor.
We do. We think it's keeping us safe.
Right. The entire premise of keeping the secret is built on this thought. I am protecting my spouse by not telling them. I am shielding my kids from my failures. I am guarding my own reputation.
It's always framed as a noble act in our own heads.
Exactly. But if denial is supposed to be a shield, why are the people wearing it having panic attacks in their cars?
Right.
Why are they waking up with their jaws clenched so tight that their teeth literally hurt? A shield is designed to take the blow so your body doesn't have to.
It shouldn't hurt you to carry it.
Right. Armor shouldn't exhaust the person wearing it to the point of a nervous breakdown.
And that contradiction right there, that exposes the fundamental flaw in how we conceptualize denial. We need to completely reframe the analogy.
Okay, how so?
Think about medieval iron armor, like a really heavy, thick iron plate. It might indeed stop an arrow from piercing your chest.
Sure, it blocks the immediate threat.
Right. But if you weld that armor onto your body and refuse to ever take it off, if you wear it to the dinner table, if you wear it into your bed, if you wear it in the shower,
Oh, man.
the sheer unrelenting weight of that iron will eventually crush your own joints. It will degrade your muscles. It will compress your spine until you literally cannot stand upright anymore.
So the protection becomes the very thing destroying you.
Exactly. Denial functions the exact same way. It might successfully numb the immediate, sharp pain of reality. It might delay that terrifying conversation you are dreading.
Buying you a little more time.
Right. But the massive compounding weight of carrying that falsehood every single second of the day, it wears down the architecture of your soul. You haven't put on a shield, you have locked yourself inside an iron cage, and you are throwing away the key every single day.
Wow. You are locked inside, suffocating under the weight, and everyone you love is locked out, just staring at the bars.
That's exactly it.
And that progression from perceived protection to total isolation, it's not just an interesting psychological phenomenon.
Hmm?
It points directly to the spiritual reality of how human beings are constructed.
Absolutely.
It is exactly what God's word warns us about regarding our fundamental design. We are not built to carry the crushing weight of hidden darkness.
No, we are.
When we look at Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25, the instruction is incredibly clear. Each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body.
And that phrase, members of one body, that is where the entire paradigm shifts.
Yeah, break that down for us.
Well, this is not just a poetic metaphor or like a nice philosophical idea about community. It is
Yeah.
a biological, structural reality of how human beings are meant to exist together, especially within the covenant of a family.
Right.
Consider the intricate design of your own physical nervous system. If you are walking through your dark house at night and you violently stub your toe on the coffee table,
Oh, the worst.
the absolute worst. But the reaction is not localized to the toe. The toe doesn't suffer in isolation.
No, your whole body reacts.
Instantly. Your mouth cries out. Your hands automatically reach down to grip the foot. Your heart rate spikes to pump blood. Your adrenal glands flood your system with adrenaline.
You probably collapse on the floor.
Exactly. Your entire body collapses to the floor to protect and soothe that one small, injured extremity. The whole organism responds violently and immediately because the entire organism is connected by a central, unifying nervous system.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
But I do struggle with this amputation and one body idea when we apply it to denial.
How so?
Because in the physical body, if I stub my toe, my body sends out massive pain signals specifically so I can fix it. The toe screams for help.
Right.
But when someone is living in deep denial, they are actively suppressing those pain signals. They aren't crying out for help. They're putting on a suit, going to work, and acting like everything is perfect.
They're faking health.
Exactly. They're doing everything in their power to ensure the rest of the body does not know there is an injury. So how does the family actually feel the sickness if the person is successfully faking their health?
And that is the insidious nature of the disease of denial. The family feels it because human beings are wired for congruence.
Congruent, okay.
Right. When a spouse senses that distance, when their gut instinct tells them something is profoundly wrong, but they are repeatedly met with the smiling, calm facade of denial, It creates a psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance.
Oh, man. Cognitive dissonance is brutal.
It really is. The spouse's brain is receiving two entirely conflicting streams of data. Stream A is their intuition, the late nights, the sudden financial stress, the emotional withdrawal, the intimacy that just feels hollow.
The reality they are feeling.
Yes. And then stream B is the verbal data from the person in denial. Everything is fine. I'm just stressed at work. You're imagining things. Why are you always picking fights?
Oh, that's so toxic.
And the human brain cannot tolerate cognitive dissonance indefinitely. To resolve the conflict between what they feel and what they're being told, the spouse often defaults to the most destructive conclusion possible.
Which is
They blame themselves.
the gaslighting effect.
Mhm.
Whether it's intentional manipulation or just, the desperate flailing of someone trying to keep their secret hidden, the result on the partner is the same.
Precisely the same. The spouse begins to doubt their own sanity. They think, well, my partner says nothing is wrong, so my anxiety must be my own fault.
I must be too needy.
I must be overly suspicious. I must be the reason our marriage feels so cold. They lose their grounding in reality. The sickness in the hidden member of the body has successfully metastasized, causing the healthy member to literally attack its own immune system.
That is heartbreaking.
Oh.
And the tragedy compounds. It just multiplies when we look at the children in the home.
Oh, absolutely. Children are so deeply impacted by this.
Because children are incredibly vulnerable to this, right? They don't even have the vocabulary to name cognitive dissonance. They're just trying to build their foundational understanding of how the world works.
Exactly. Children rely entirely on their parents to help them develop reality testing. When the tension in the house is thick enough to cut with a knife, when the anxiety is practically radiating off the living room walls, the kids feel it.
Their little nervous systems just absorb all that stress.
They soak it up like a sponge. But when they look to the adults, and the adults insist that everything is perfect, it teaches the child a devastating lifelong lesson.
It teaches them that their internal warning systems are broken.
Yes. It teaches them to ignore their own intuition. If what they feel inside never matches what the authority figures tell them is true, they learn to distrust their own feelings.
Which sets them up for a lifetime of relational struggles, right? Anxiety and inability to trust themselves or anybody else.
The falsehood doesn't just hurt the person keeping the secret, it actively rewires the psychological development of their kids.
I want to introduce an analogy to really capture the mechanics of how this poison spreads, regardless of the secret keeper's intentions.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think of a home with a hidden carbon monoxide leak.
Oh, that's a powerful image.
Right, because carbon monoxide is the perfect metaphor for a hidden life, because it is completely odorless, tasteless, and invisible. You cannot see the threat.
It's just entirely silent.
Silent and deadly. Now imagine someone accidentally left a generator running in the basement, or they left the stove on. They realize their mistake, but they are so paralyzed by the fear of blame, the shame of being irresponsible, and the anticipated anger of their family that they choose to deny it's happening.
They just close the basement door and pretend.
Exactly. They don't warn anyone. They think, if I just pretend the air is fine, if I just act normal, I won't get in trouble. The problem will just stay in the basement.
Right. They genuinely believe they are protecting themselves from a fight.
But the carbon monoxide doesn't care about their intentions. The toxic air is slowly filling the living room, it's seeping under the bedroom doors and entering the lungs of every single person in the house.
Wow. The physical reality of the poison completely overrides the emotional intent of the denial.
Exactly.
The carbon monoxide isn't going to stay contained just because the person keeping the secret wishes it would. And look at the physical symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. You've got profound fatigue, intense confusion, memory loss, splitting headaches.
Right.
Those map flawlessly onto the relational symptoms we just discussed. The spouse is emotionally fatigued from carrying the cognitive dissonance. The kids are confused and disoriented.
The entire house is sick.
Yes. The very mechanism the person used as protection, the denial, is the exact conduit delivering the poison to the family.
Man, this leads us to a deeply heartbreaking question. If we logically know this, if the person keeping the secret can look around and see the exhaustion in their spouse's eyes, if they can feel that heavy iron cage crushing their own soul, if they see the poison spreading, why do they hold on to it?
That is the big question.
Why is the instinct to protect the secret so overpowering that a person will watch their own family suffocate rather than just open the windows and let the truth in?
It comes down to a fear so primal and so absolute that it completely bypasses logic.
What is that fear?
It is the terrifying, paralyzing fear of the real us being seen and known. This is the absolute core of the mental health toll we see in people living double lives.
The fear of being found out.
But more than just being found out, the fundamental lie of the enemy whispered into the ear of every person carrying a secret is this: if they knew the real you, they would leave you.
If they knew the real you, they would leave you.
Wow. It is a brilliant, devastating piece of spiritual warfare. We become entirely convinced that our worst mistake, our darkest addiction, our hidden debt, or our deepest failure defines our total worth.
We fuse our identity with the secret.
Exactly. We believe that if our spouse, our kids, or our church community caught even a fraction of a glimpse of the reality of our struggles, they would turn their backs and walk away in absolute disgust.
So we engage in this tragic subconscious risk assessment.
We do.
We look at the terrifying possibility of rejection on one side, and we look at the lonely, cold safety of isolation on the other side. And we choose isolation.
We choose the wall every time.
We build the wall to minimize the risk of exposure. We mistakenly believe that maintaining a fake relationship, where we are safely hidden behind a carefully constructed mask, is infinitely better than the risk of having no relationship at all.
We tell ourselves, as long as I keep the mask on, at least I still have my family.
At least they're still here.
Right. But the cruel irony of that choice is that by hiding behind the mask, we are actively destroying the very foundation of the love we are trying to preserve.
It's so counterproductive.
It brings us to the tragedy of conditional love, or at least what feels like conditional love to the person hiding. Because when you hide your true self and present an avatar to the world, any love, praise, or affection you receive feels entirely hollow.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that hollow feeling. Because if a spouse is genuinely trying to love their partner, if they're cooking for them, hugging them, telling them they appreciate them, why does a love feel fake to the person keeping the secret?
Because deep down, in your quietest, most honest moments, you know they aren't actually loving you. They're loving the avatar you programmed for them. Let's look at a hypothetical scenario to illustrate this.
Right.
Imagine a guy named John. John has a severe hidden addiction that is secretly draining the family finances. But at work and at home, he projects the image of the perfect, dedicated provider.
He's the guy everybody relies on.
Exactly. So John gets called up at a company banquet and receives a massive award for his integrity and hard work. His wife is beaming with pride. She hugs him and says, "I am so incredibly proud of the man you are."
This should be a great moment.
It should be. But in that exact moment, John doesn't feel joy. He feels like the biggest fraud on the planet. His internal monologue is screaming, "If you only knew where our savings went, you wouldn't be hugging me. If you knew what I did on my phone late at night, you wouldn't be proud of me."
He is literally starving to death for real, authentic connection, but he is actively pushing the food away with both hands just to maintain his disguise.
That's exactly what's happening. The avatar is getting all the affection, and the real John is dying of malnutrition in the dark.
It creates a profound, agonizing loneliness.
It does. You are surrounded by people who claim to love you, but you feel completely unknown and entirely unlovable. You cannot receive the love because you know it is based on fraudulent data.
I want to challenge the logic we use to justify this isolation because the mental gymnastics are just staggering.
Oh, we can rationalize anything.
Right. We tell ourselves we are minimizing the risk of the relationship ending. We say, I am keeping this secret to save my marriage. I am building this wall so my kids don't lose respect for me.
That's the script.
But aren't we just guaranteeing the exact outcome we are terrified of?
Yeah.
If I isolate my emotions from my wife to prevent her from discovering my secret and rejecting me, I have effectively rejected her first.
Yes, you have.
I've already left the marriage emotionally.
Yeah.
I've vacated the premises, but left my physical body behind to keep up appearances.
You have hit on the devastating paradox of living in denial. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of the worst kind.
The worst.
The very tool we use to save our lives is the exact weapon that destroys them. You are so utterly terrified of the relationship ending that you end it yourself preemptively by removing your true, authentic self from the equation.
A marriage cannot survive if only one person is actually in the room.
It simply can't.
Mm-hmm.
By choosing the safety of the wall, you have already initiated the separation.
And that separation leads us directly to the ultimate price of denial. The hard, unavoidable reality of what this isolation actually costs in the long run.
The bill always comes due.
Always. The destination of this road is never containment. The destination is collapse.
The price of this isolation is the eventual catastrophic loss of all our important relationships. It is the unavoidable mathematical certainty of falsehood.
Right.
The wall demands constant maintenance, and eventually you just run out of energy to sustain it.
Let's walk through the timeline of how that collapse happens, because it is rarely a sudden explosion, right?
No, it takes time.
It's not like you tell a lie on a Monday and your entire life falls apart on a Tuesday. It is a slow, agonizing fade that takes place over years, sometimes even decades.
Just a slow drain.
Yeah. It always starts as a small, seemingly manageable hidden thing. Maybe it's a habit you don't want to admit to, a deep resentment you bury instead of discussing, or a financial mistake you try to cover up just until you can fix it.
It starts as just one single brick.
Exactly. One brick. You place the brick down and think, I can step over this. It's fine.
But the nature of a lie is that it requires a scaffolding of other lies to support it.
You can't just leave one brick.
No, you place the first brick, but then your spouse asks where the money went or why you were late. To cover the first brick, you have to lay another brick, a small lie to explain your whereabouts.
And then your spouse notices you seem anxious and asks if everything is okay.
Right. And instead of answering honestly, you pick a manufactured fight about the dishes to distract them from the real issue.
That is a massive load of bricks.
You pull away physically so your spouse doesn't sense your elevated heart rate. More bricks. You stop going to small group because you feel guilty singing worship songs while living a double life. More bricks.
And before you even realize what has happened, that little pile of bricks you thought you could just step over has grown into a towering wall.
A massive wall.
And as the years go by, you reinforce it. That wall becomes an absolute, impenetrable fortress. It is so thick and so high that no light gets in and no truth gets out.
You're trapped.
Your spouse can't reach you. Your kids can't reach you. Your closest friends stop trying to reach you because they continually hit the cold stone of your defensiveness. You are completely alone inside the fortress of your own making.
And that is the exact moment the structural collapse occurs. The marriage, which has been starved of the oxygen of truth and vulnerability for years, it finally dissolves.
It just gives way.
The spouse simply cannot survive the cognitive dissonance and the coldness anymore. The kids, who have grown up with a ghost for a parent, someone physically present but emotionally entirely vacant, they lose their foundational trust and pull away to build their own lives, vowing never to replicate the emptiness of their childhood home.
It's a generational trauma.
It really is. The friendships fade into superficial passing acquaintances because you never let anyone close enough to actually know your struggles. The fortress you built to protect your life has become your tomb.
Man, imagine the profound, suffocating grief of looking back at the wreckage of your life 5, 10, or 20 years down the road.
Sitting in the ruins.
You are sitting alone in the rubble. And here is the real kicker, the most painful realization of all. Imagine realizing that the relationships didn't end because of the issue itself.
This is so important.
They didn't end because you struggled with the addiction or the debt or the failure.
Yeah.
They ended because of the wall you built to hide it.
That is the ultimate tragedy of the secret life. We see this constantly in recovery circles.
All the time.
So often, a heartbroken spouse will look at the ruins of a broken marriage and say, I could have forgiven the financial mistake. I could have walked through the struggle of the addiction with you. We could have gone to counseling.
We could have worked on it.
Yes. What I couldn't survive was the lying. I couldn't survive the wall. I couldn't survive looking into your eyes and knowing you were thousands of miles away.
Denial was the actual relationship killer.
The cover-up did 100 times more damage than the original crime ever could have.
If you are listening right now, the silence in your car or your living room might feel absolutely deafening.
It might feel really heavy right now.
You might be feeling the icy chill of that reality settling into your bones. You might be right in the middle of this loss, right now, today. You might be looking at the massive wall you built, looking at the agonizing distance between you and your kids, looking at the absolute coldness in your marriage and thinking, I have ruined everything. The fortress is too high. I'm too old to change. It is simply too late.
And if that is where you are sitting, we need to speak directly to that despair right now.
Yes, we do.
We must emphasize the immense, overwhelming grace available in this exact moment. If you have breath in your lungs, it is not too late.
Not at all.
The enemy wants you to look at that fortress and believe it is a permanent, immovable structure. He wants you to believe that you have gone too far, that you have hidden in the dark for too long, and that there is absolutely no way back to the light.
He wants you to believe the lie that your family is better off without the real you.
But that is a lie from the pit of hell. It is never too late to start tearing down the wall. You can dismantle it brick by honest, painful brick.
But, and this is a massive critical, but we cannot tear down this wall on our own strength.
No, we absolutely can't.
We have to be honest about our limitations. We built the wall because we were utterly terrified, and that fear hasn't magically evaporated just because we recognize the wall is bad.
The fear is still very much there.
The cost of admission to reality feels too incredibly high to pay on our own. If we rely on our own willpower, we will just start building a new, slightly different wall tomorrow.
We'll just shift the bricks around.
Exactly. We need something or someone infinitely stronger than our deepest fear. We need a radical, total surrender.
True fellowship, true authentic connection can only happen when the falsehood is actively put away, as God's word in Ephesians commands, and we simply do not possess the internal fortitude to put it away on our own.
The gravity of the secret is too strong.
It is. We must surrender the cost of denial to Jesus Christ. We have to hand over the outcome, the fear of rejection, and the shame directly to him.
Contrast that reality for a moment. Contrast the crushing, heavy, suffocating weight of the iron cage of isolation with what is actually tangibly offered to us in Christ.
The contrast is literal night and day. On one side, you have the kingdom of denial, which is ruled by exhaustion, the constant terror of discovery, and absolute isolation.
It is a kingdom of ghosts.
Exactly. On the other side, you have the absolute freedom of being fully known and fully loved in a Christ-centered community.
And the most beautiful, liberating truth is that Jesus already knows the real us.
He already knows.
We aren't actually hiding anything from him anyway.
Yeah.
We expend all this energy maintaining this sophisticated, heavily curated mask, but God looks right through the iron plates.
He sees right to the heart of it.
He sees the terrified person locked inside. He sees every single failure, every shameful secret, every dark, intrusive thought, every single thing we are terrified of anyone else finding out.
He sees the things we haven't even admitted to ourselves.
And his response is not to turn his back in disgust. His response is not to confirm our worst fears of rejection. His response is complete, unfathomable, unconditional love. He went to the cross specifically for the person hiding behind the wall.
That is the transformative power of the gospel. When we finally bring our secrets out of the darkness and into his light, they instantly, permanently lose their power.
The darkness is where they thrive.
The enemy can only thrive in the dark. As long as your secret is hidden, it acts as a tyrannical master over you. It holds you hostage, dictating your moods, your responses, and your relationships.
But the very moment you speak it into the light,
The moment you confess it to another human being, the hostage situation is over. The secret is stripped of its leverage.
we get to see this happen all the time. We see it physically happen right here at the Crossroads Cafe.
Ah.
Let's describe what that looks like for the person listening who can't imagine surviving the exposure.
Okay, picture this. Imagine someone walking through the doors of the church for the very first time.
They're completely terrified.
Their heart is pounding out of their chest. They are clutching their secret so tightly their knuckles are entirely white. They slip into the back row, fully expecting to be judged.
They expect lightning to strike.
They expect to be the worst person in the room.
And then the meeting starts. And they hear someone else share. They hear another person stand up, take the microphone, and talk about the exact same struggle, the exact same failure, the exact same paralyzing fear of being a fraud.
And the newcomer looks around the room, bracing themselves, waiting for the crowd to gasp, to judge, and to pull away in disgust.
But nobody pulls away. Nobody gasps. People are just nodding.
They are smiling with deep understanding.
They are looking at the person sharing with profound compassion, because they have all been in that exact same dark basement.
And then finally, maybe not that night, but eventually, that newcomer gathers the tiny mustard seed of courage to say it out loud themselves.
They drop the heavy iron shield.
They speak the truth. I have a problem. I've been lying. I'm drowning. And you can literally watch the physical and spiritual relief wash over their body.
You see their shoulders drop 2 inches as the tension leaves.
You see the natural color come back to their face. They realize in a visceral, undeniable way, I am fully known, I am completely exposed, and I am not rejected. I am loved. The monster in the dark was just a shadow.
It is genuinely the most beautiful thing in the world to witness. It is the absolute life-altering freedom of stepping out from behind the wall and rejoining the body.
It's resurrection.
So for the person listening to this right now, the person sitting in their driveway or staring at the ceiling in their living room, feeling completely crushed by the weight of their secret, feeling the massive canyon between them and their family. What is the very first practical step they take to step out from behind that wall today?
The very first step is a shift in perspective. You must recognize that the protection you think you have is a complete illusion.
You have to see the cage for what it is.
You have to intellectually and spiritually acknowledge that the wall isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping you deeply sick, and it's poisoning your family.
Okay, and then what?
Once you accept that the armor is actually a cage, you have to choose to tell the truth to one safe person. You don't have to broadcast it to the world, but you must tell one person. You have to take that horrifying, exhilarating leap of faith, open your mouth, and say the words, "I need help. I have been living a lie."
You surrender the outcome, the fear of what will happen next to Jesus, trusting completely that his grace is sufficient to catch you, and you step into the light.
Because the hard truth is this. You have spent so much time, so much physical and emotional energy calculating the devastating cost of being found out.
You have run the apocalyptic math 1,000 times in your head about what you will lose if people finally know the truth.
But have you ever stopped to calculate the actual cost of staying hidden?
Look at the canyon of distance in your home. Look at the bone-deep exhaustion in your own eyes in the mirror. Look at the loneliness that is eating you alive.
The freedom, the peace, and the authentic love waiting on the other side of the truth is absolutely worth the temporary, terrifying pain of exposure.
It is the only possible way to save your life, and it is the only way to truly, authentically love the people around you.
You cannot love a family from behind a brick wall. You have to come out.
If you are tired of living behind the wall, if the iron cage is too heavy to carry for one more day, we want you to come sit with us at Peters Creek Baptist Church in South Park, Pennsylvania. We have a seat saved for you.
Here is what our Friday schedule looks like.
5:15 to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Dinner in the social hall. Just keep in mind that's on the final Friday of each month only.
6:30 p.m., large group worship.
7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Gender-specific small groups.
8:30 to 9 p.m., Crosstalk Cafe.
You do not have to do this alone. You were never meant to do this alone.
Yeah.
Reach out to us. You can email Craig Amstone directly at craig.amstone@gmail.com or contact the church office at info@pcbc.church.
To find out more, visit pecd.church or find a group near you at crlocator.com.
Put off the falsehood. Let the wall fall down. Step into the light. We'll see you Friday.